Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Yes Optimistic. This board features Yes's 242 cam rocker, which is a mellower rocker in the nose and the tail with a more dominant and pronounced camber through the inserts. That camber section is going to give you the load, pop, snap, and drive, while that rocker section is going to give you ease of entry in and out of turns, as well as more optimal powder float. This board is available in 151, 154, 157, and 161. I rode this board at Arapahoe Basin on a sunny bluebird day that had moderate to high winds on the upper portion of the mountain. You had chop, chunder, ice, crust, kind of just a mix of conditions everywhere else, and I rode it with my Rome Black Label bindings and my K2 Thraxis boots. Compared to last year's Optimistic, this board has gotten a little bit softer, most noticeably in the torsional flex. Now with that said, you do have a directional flex, so softer nose progressively stiffening up to the tail with a moderate amount of torsional flex to it. It's still on the stiffer end of the spectrum, so it is past middle of the road. It's still stiffer, and when it comes to stability, you have the width, the camber profile, and the flex all working in conjunction to just give you a smooth, stable ride. You do get a little chatter in the nose, but most of that is completely dissipated before it hits that front insert pack. And when you get into really choppy terrain, this board just crushes everything in its path. It just wants to push right through it. With the decrease in the flex of this board, you got an increase in the snap. The camber profile is easier to engage. When you roll back onto that tail rocker, it springs you up in the air. What you will really notice is when you're hauling ass, this board wants to launch you. It's not as aggressive as it once was with how you had to load into it to try to get it to pop. It's a little more forgiving, but it still snaps excessively well. It's not exactly a board for buttering on. I mean, yes, you can do it, but I don't know why you people are. Instead, maybe you should go make some turns. So if you know how to butter and you're really going to just like pop a 180 and land on the nose in some pow and really press into it, good for you. Maybe do a high-speed wheelie, I don't know, off the tail. Otherwise, turning. That's what you should be doing with this board. When it comes to carving, this is where this board truthfully excels. It's become a little more manageable with that softer flex in there. You can basically just sit on the edge, going from toe to heel, and just ankle steer this board with very minimal movements. It does engage right outside the front insert pack to initiate the turn, but it steers from inside the front insert pack and outside the rear if you're really trying to drive it. This is a board that you can lay trenches when you need to, or you can be a little more mellow and forgiving when you want to be. It's not as assertive as it once was, which makes it more approachable in my opinion. This just means that those short, tight, quick carves become a little bit easier, and when you do lay that trench over, you got a little more room to work with when you drive your knee into the center of the board and push your foot down under that insert and drive that tail out of the turn. If you want to carve, you should be able to do it with this thing, because if you can't, I don't know why. Who's this board for? The resort ripping carving freeride guy. This is the softest version of the Optimistic that I've ridden to date. Now, that makes some sense because they merged the Y into this board, so you get a little more torsional flex. It becomes a little more playful. Sure, you lose some of that raw power that the Optimistic had, but it's more approachable. It's easier to turn with. And yes, you can't lay it over as aggressively as you could the old Optimistic, but you can still lay it over when you need to. Overall, it's a fun resort carving cruiser. Comparable boards: the Korua Otto Plus, the Telos DST, the Amplit Soli Grail. Binding recommendations: the Now Drive, the Rome Cleaver, the Ride A9. This has been my review of the Yes Optimistic. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you own one? Are you going to buy one? Leave me a comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this snowboard. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way, you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really like what we're doing over here and you want to support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video.